Hello, everybody, and welcome to Happenings in the Dearborn Public Schools. I'm David Mustonen, Director of Communications, or as sometimes we like to call this show, How Many Times Can David Be Fired in One Setting? And that's only because of our special guest who's joining us here tonight. With Dr. Maleyko, our current superintendent, is our new state superintendent. Well, not really new anymore. It's like old hat now.
Yeah,
You've
like
been
8 months.
eight months into the job. So,
Yeah.
but former Dearborn Public Schools superintendent, Mr. Brian Whiston. Brian, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be back in Dearborn.
Good, good. We were a little earlier. We were at Snow Elementary. You read to some students there, which was good, which was nice. And I know, Dr. Maleyko, you've been all over the district reading as well, as this is March. March is reading month. And so we've all been out and about doing our share reading. You know, we've got a lot of good, important education issues and topics. Now that we have the state superintendent here, we can really start drilling them on some of these things. But before that, before we even get into any of those important issues, let's talk something that has been on the minds of a lot of people, Tigers. Spring training, where do we see them finishing up this year?
Oh, they're going to be in first place, man. All about the Tigers.
All right, the prediction.
They've got the relief pitching this year to get it. They have no holes in the batting order, so as long as they stay healthy, I think they should be in first place. Kansas City's going to be tough to overtake, but we'll do it.
All right, well, there you have it. So, Glenn,
Well,
we now know.
We know it's going to be the Tigers.
We know it's going to be the
and
Tigers, yeah.
And he's committal. Like me, I was not as, but as a hockey fan, superstitious as well. So normally we talk about the Red Wings, but since you're here,
Yeah,
we
they're
had
about to drop out of
Yeah, I know.
8th place.
I
You
know.
better get them going here. They're like a point or two in.
Yeah. I'm
You gotta
taking
get
my
'em going.
son to the next game. We're good luck charms. So
That's
good.
Good.
Things are
We need that.
All right. Well, hockey, sports, baseball, basketball, all of that aside, I know that you've got an important initiative going on in the state, making the state of Michigan a top 10 school district in 10 years. Dr. Maleyko is part of that committee that's working on that. So tell us a little bit about that initiative.
Well, you know, I think it's we need to have a focus goal, and so becoming a top 10 performing state is our focus goal. You know, people say, well, where do we currently perform? And currently we're somewhere between the middle to the bottom. It just depends on what statistics you want to look at, and that's a change because about a decade ago or 15 years ago, Michigan was in the top tier. But you know, we have a new economy in the state of Michigan, and that new economy has led to a lot higher number of at-risk and poor students. And because of that, we've dropped. And so top 10 and 10 is to really create a focus on helping kids get college credit, which Dearborn is outstanding at. They lead the state at that. You know, it's about changing what we're doing in the classroom to have students take ownership of their learning, setting goals, deeper learning in the classroom, not just learning facts, but learning what those facts mean and how to transition those into other meanings. So a lot of things Dearborn is already doing are things that we're talking about how we need to make Michigan a top 10 performing state.
Great. Dr. Maleyko, your involvement in that?
Yeah, I'm
program?
very excited to be involved. I know your Deputy Superintendent, Norma Jean Sass, former Associate Superintendent here, invited me to participate, and thank you for the opportunity to be involved, and we're committed in whatever we can do, but I'm excited about the initiative as well, you know, as we get into the specific goals and strategies and to see how we're going to, you know, implement this moving forward. But I can say that, you know, through the my collective bodies and my groups, the superintendent groups that I've been with, there's a lot of positive buzz around the state and what we're hearing with a lot of the implementation you've been initiating and the changes being made. So we're very grateful to have you up there at the state level taking the lead, you know, in implementing this initiative among others. How did it feel though for you? You know, what does it feel like to be state superintendent?
Well, it's clearly different. You know, when you're a local superintendent like here in Dearborn, you spend a lot of time in schools, a lot of time getting into classrooms, working with teachers and administrators. And at the state level, it's more about meeting with educators on a bigger scale, you know, giving speeches at large scale meetings, really trying to set the direction for the state, really trying to use that bully pulpit to talk about the great things that are happening in classrooms all over the state and celebrating those. But it's also about being honest that there are a lot of classrooms where we're not meeting the needs of our students, and making the changes in those districts so that the kids are prepared for success. You know, we have 1.5 million students in this state, and I feel responsible for making sure each one of them really has a unique plan that it meets their needs and prepares them for success, whether that means going to college, whether that means going to work, whether it means going to the military, whatever it means, whatever their life's ambitions and goals are we providing them the necessary tools in our K through 16 structure to make sure they're able to be successful.
With that, I just had a follow-up too, and question. I know when you left here, one of the big hot issues was about testing and student testing. I know when you came in, immediately there were some changes that were made in MD, and you're looking at some long-term plans. It's been a hot issue in Dearborn, and as you know, coming back, you were the superintendent here, and as it started to really rev up, I think, into the summer, and then I know the president came out and talked about reductions and things, but you seem to have already been out in the forefront even prior to some of those newscasts that were coming.
Yeah, I certainly, I think testing of students, every day teachers are doing some sort of assessment of whether the students are learning. So assessments are part of the instructional process, but when is testing enough? And so when I did become state superintendent, I did reduce most elementary tests by 3 hours thereabouts, and high school by about 8 hours. So that was step one. So then step two is really to have the conversation about what assessments do teachers need, what assessments do districts need to drive instruction, and what do we need as a state to hold schools accountable. And I've always been opposed to using one test on one day as the measure to determine success. Sure. As adults, no adult would allow in their workplace to have one day or 2 or 3 days be the judge as whether they're successful or not. And yet we do that to students. So we're going to have a conversation about continuing to reduce testing time so that we get the right balance between making sure the kids are getting the instructions they need, that teachers know that students are learning it, and that we can have schools held accountable for the $13 billion we spend on schools around the state.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So just I know you're in this new position. You're traveling quite a bit across the state. Can you share with, I know obviously Dearborn is the best, and we have all the greatest classrooms right here.
Absolutely.
But you may have run into a school somewhere across the state in your travels so far that is maybe just doing something very unique, or it's just impressed you. Is there something that has just grabbed your attention in these past 8 months that you've been traveling around? I know it's a short time, and I know there's probably plenty more school districts that you want to get to. But in this short time, is there something that has just grabbed your attention?
I have seen a lot of great classrooms around the state, from here in Wayne County to Macomb to Oakland to up into Marquette, Traverse City. But what I'd like to see, and you do see it here in Dearborn, is students learning in multiple languages. There's kindergarten classrooms where kids are getting full instruction in another language and also then in English. And what that does in terms of the brain and learning, kids graduating from school being able to speak 2, 3, 4 different languages just is going to give them a heads up, not only get them better opportunities in college, but it's going to also open a lot more opportunities when they're ready to go into work or military or wherever they want to go. And so, I think that's exciting to see. The Dearborn, again, leads the opportunity in the state in 5-year college programs. But I'd love to see every student that wants to has access to getting 30 to 60 college credits as part of their high school experiences. CTE programs, we have the Michael Berry Center, or you have the Michael Berry Center here in Dearborn. It's hard to drop that. But those opportunities for kids, gone needs to be the day that we say, here's an educational structure, and every kid, you got to go through it. What we need to do is create structures so kids have options, and that we find what kids are passionate about and what excites them and what they want to do with their lives. And so we need to provide 1.5 million different ways of going through school, and CTE's got to be part of that. Colleges has got to be part of that. Foreign languages has to be part of that. So those are the things that excite me when I see them around the state. Kids are graduating and going right into jobs because of these CTE experiences and 5-year programs, making $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. And that's pretty exciting. They can still go on and get their 4-year degree if they want, or advanced degrees, but they're going right into these good paying jobs. And we have a lot of demand for welders and for electricians and plumbers. Those are great jobs, and if kids want to go into them, let's help them do that as part of the high school experience.
Sure.
I'd just like to add, you can say we as long as you want, because we're very grateful for all the work that you've done here, and I know I'm personally grateful for the work and what I learned from you when I served on your cabinet as one of your top executives.
Well, I mean, the reason Dearborn's so successful, you have a great board of education, and I can say that now because they're not my bosses, right? But really a board that is focused on the right things. You have an administrative team that is outstanding, that works hand in hand with the teachers and all the employees to move the district forward. And when everybody has a seat at the table and is engaged in defining the problem and solving the problem, you're going to see those kinds of districts gallop further ahead than other districts, and that's why Dearborn's doing that.
So coming back to the district and your experience, is that you feel, I mean, you have a different lens now because you're the head of the state and you're going into difference, but how has, the superintendent of Dearborn and the experiences you have prepared you for that job? But in the same token, what now is different? What is the different lens that you now have when you're
I'm sure people around the state are tired of hearing about Dearborn because, you use your experiences. And of course, so many great things were happening in our classrooms. I want to talk about those and share them. So people are probably tired of hearing about Dearborn. But, it is different because, I'm going into urban areas, I'm going into rural areas, I'm going into lots of different types of school districts, large schools, small school districts. And so, it is a different experience. And as the head of MD, Michigan Department of Education, we have to find a system of providing supports to every school district. Dearborn is a large district doing well. You don't need the department that much. So we need to get out of your way, hold you accountable, but get out of your way. Other districts that are struggling, we might need to be more involved with and spend more time and energy helping those districts be successful. So I want to create that kind of department where it's focused on customer service, meeting the needs of the various districts out there, and really creating kind of a best practice warehouse. So things that Dearborn, your graduation rates have gone way up, the test scores have gone way up. What is it that Dearborn is doing so other districts can learn from that? Same with school districts in Marquette, in Macomb County, in Traverse City. What are they doing that are having success so that if a school district is saying, we're really struggling with fourth grade math, they'll have a place to go to see districts that have been successful with fourth grade math and learn from that. And so it's really meeting the needs of each district in a different way.
So one more question: how did it feel coming back to Dearborn today and greeting to students, I think, at Snow Elementary?
I told David I thought it was going to feel strange, but it didn't. It just felt like I still belonged, that's where I was supposed to be.
Well, you just walked into the office,
I did
right?
I did notice my parking spot was taken, and my office, somebody was working in there. But other than that, it felt like being at home. My wife, I, and daughter love living here, love being part of the community. We had great experience here.
Well, you should have a good experience here because you were well liked because of one reason, a little nickname that I don't know if you had, but Lord Whiston Snowmaster or something along those lines, something to do with all those snow days that you gave. But of course, a lot of it has to do with we did have two of the roughest winters in Michigan in history. You just happened to be at the helm at that time, but you did, and
it was quite an experience, walking here in Dearborn High, walking across the field, and kids are saying snow day. Happened in every school that I went to. It was kind of a fun experience. And I actually hated calling snow days. The truth be told, I know students love them, and I know they have their little gimmicks and things they do to make a snow day occur, but it was always a struggle for me. I always hated calling them because I love school and I want kids to be in school. But I hear you're not living up to it. You're not calling school. You're making them go on these cold, snowy days.
That's why, I don't know, you get a little more popular following, I think.
But Glenn has a pretty big following on Twitter. So he gets a lot of advice from students on Twitter on what to do and, when to call a snow day and that. So, you can jump on Twitter and you can read some of the dialogue going on.
I think the best part of that is my wife is happy not to be, so she can sleep. Because usually you're up from 3, 4, 5 in the morning, checking out roads, checking out conditions and the like, and to see if you're going to have school or not. So I know she has enjoyed not getting those phone calls, waking us up to have those conversations.
Well, I'm trying to continue at least in having fun because that's one of the things I'm doing with the high school students, whether it's on Twitter or just in the school. Snow days coming up. No, we totally eliminated them. I said to them, didn't you watch my interview? And, having said that, they picked up a post that I put on my blog and threw it in and posted it in the Dearborn Press and Guide. And one of the things, which I'm sure you could probably attest to, is that if we put as much energy into trying to create a snow day as we did into our education, I think we'd be fine all over the school district.
Very true. But you got to have some fun.
Yeah, you have to have
Yeah,
fun.
that's right.
You have to have some fun. Kids got to
Definitely.
have those traditions and things they do
Yeah.
to try to get those snow days. A couple snow days a year is okay. 'Cause we had a couple bad years where we had 7, 8 days or 6 days, and
Got carried
that was
away.
too many.
Yeah. So.
Well, Superintendent Whiston, thank you for joining us. Superintendent Maleyko, thank you for letting me back on the set for a couple moments here.
Absolutely.
I enjoy being on with all of you, and I made it through without getting fired. What do you know? So, but of course,
He's easier boss than me. I would have fired you by now. You know that.
well, we've got a lot more shows coming up. The superintendent, we do this a couple times a month, and always make sure that there's lots of great information being given to you during this program. So we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you.